Already on a lovely autumn day, and it's time to do some work to this thing. So Wilddog Winch Challenge is coming up in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So check that out on Facebook, Wilddog Winch Challenge. They've got a page. But yeah, that's coming up real quick. And that means this car needs to get ready, and get ready quick. So if you have been following for a while, it's probably nearly 12 months ago now, we had the car ready to race and we're all pumped up, ready to go. And then we had a lockdown or whatever, and that postponed the race. They postponed it for 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure it was actually June. And then they postponed it for 2 weeks, and then we're still in lockdown, obviously. That's all we ever did. But then they postponed it again towards the end of the year. I think it was October. And same thing, it didn't happen either. So, yeah, this car, like, we prepped it all. We got it all ready. And then, yeah, it was like a week out. Yeah, you know, nothing ever happened. So we never raced last year. But this year's looking good. Everything's running smoothly. Everything's looking like we are going to be racing. So I cannot wait for that. I'm absolutely pumped. And I'm sure everyone else is the same. There hasn't been any racing in Victoria for like 2 years, I think, because of all the garbage that happened. So yeah, first race back. Oh, it's actually not the first Winch Challenge race back. They did have one not long ago. But yeah, Wilddog, first Wilddog in a couple of years. And yeah, I cannot wait. So for the most part, the car is like 90% ready. I done a heap of prep work last year, and I made a heap of videos on it, and we did some good driving videos actually last year. Yeah, so for the most part, the car's ready, but it's just maintenance things that need doing. So I've got to pull the rear center out to inspect everything, inspect the gears, inspect the locker. The axles are the main thing, inspect them, make sure they're not twisted. Probably maybe put a new set in, I'm not sure. I did put a new set in last year, but anyway, I've done a little bit of driving. So rear center out. I'll probably even pull the front center out, inspect CVs and center and everything else to do with that. Check wheel bearings, even though I done a full front end rebuild on it last year. Just check it all, make sure everything's good, re-grease some stuff. Check all the bushes and rod ends. And I've got to change the transfer case out because this one's just a bit noisy, and it's been annoying me for a while, so I thought I better just change it now. Like servicing, yeah, everything else that goes with it. I'll probably check the winch over. Whatever else has got to happen, there's a few jobs on the list, but it's all just little stuff here and there to get the car ready. So I'm probably going to wait until maybe a week before the event, and I do have some pitties over there on rims, some pitbull tires. So if it's leading up to the event and we haven't had any rain and it's looking relatively dry, I'm going to be putting the pitties on. But yeah, if we get a heap of rain and it's going to be a slop fest, yeah, I'll chuck these. I'll leave these on, I suppose. So yeah, the pitties, you can just drive way faster with them, but obviously the treps shine when it's super sloppy. So anyway, I'll wait till the week before I decide what tires I'm going to run. But one of the first jobs I've got to do is fix a methanol pump. If you watched the last driving video from like a couple months ago now, yeah, the methanol pump is playing funny buggers, and I know why. It's been a problem for a little bit. So I've got to fix that because yeah, I haven't had the good power for a while. It's just been no methanol power, which is like half. So yeah, get the pump back in there and get the power happening again. So first things first, I got to wash it. I actually forgot that I haven't washed it since the last drive. It's been a bit neglected, so give it a good wash, and then yeah, we'll get stuck into some jobs. Easy way to wash it. At least you can get underneath. Give it a good clean. All right, so I've just got the car on the hoist. I've got a list here that I'm going to work through, so we'll start with the first thing on the list. That one's pretty easy. All right, it still works. Well, we better actually do some serious jobs. So I've got to move this fuel pressure reg. I did have it mounted exactly there, and it was mounted to this, which is a res mount for the coilovers. So I had one on that side and then one on this side for each res. But when Scotty redone the cooler piping and the intake piping there, the res mount was in the way, so we just moved it and I just put it up there. And I thought I'll do the same with the other side. Heaps easier to get to the valves to check pressures and gas them up and whatever, and then just frees up a bit of room, especially once I move this somewhere else. Should free up a bit of room. I also have this fuel pressure sensor that I'm going to chuck in here, and that's going to go straight back to the dash. I've had these wires sitting here for a while. They run back behind the dash there, and Haltech done an update so you can run sensors directly to the dash a little while ago. I've been meaning to do this for a while. But yeah, I'll get it done. So I'll be able to see fuel pressure on the dash. At the moment, that does not transfer to the ECU, but that's fine. As long as I can see fuel pressure, just makes for easy diagnostics. It comes in handy having spare bits, because it saves me piss farting around trying to mount it on the car when I can just mount it on this and then bolt it to the car. So just a quick little bracket that bolts this, picks up these two bolts here and sits there. So that's not too bad of a spot in the engine bay there. Plenty of room for the sensory and plug, and I'll just have to rearrange the 90, make it work. So that'll fit in there nicely, sort of out of the way. And then next time I pull the motor out, it can just stay with the motor. I only just have to undo the two fuel lines, and yeah, where before it was kind of in the way. I've just had it running just to check for fuel leaks. You can't even really see it down there. Sort of hidden down there. It's sort of out of the way. So no fuel leaks, all good. On to the next job. Well, I've just quickly fixed the winch dildo. I broke it, went a bit too hard on it, and ripped the bolt out of it. So I just cut 30mm off it, drilled a new hole, and we should be back in business. I was just going to clean the air filter, but I couldn't help myself. Got half the bloody bush in here, trees and all sorts. Needs a good clean out. The main thing is squeaky clean in there. The air filter's doing its job. Well, that's all back together. Might pack it in for the day. I've been doing a heap of other little jobs, but tomorrow I will pull the center out and do a few other bigger jobs. So we'll see you then. We're back, another day. So I've actually got a bit on today, so I've only just got a limited amount of time, but I think what I'll do is get that rear center out, and I'll probably drain the oil. I've got to drain the oil in the diff. I'll drain the oil in the transfer case, because that's got to come out, tail shafts off, and get that rear center out. And that should sum up the day pretty quick, because I've got to go elsewhere. So yeah, I think I'll just chuck you on a time lapse for that one. We'll get all these bits out and get that center out just for an inspection and check out the axles and go from there. I think the old drain plug has copped a bit of a flogging. It's gonna halt progress a little bit. Might have to weld something on there if I can't bash something in there. I've just welded a nut to it. Might need a bit of force, I think. Beautiful. Job done. I'll get that out, get it drained. Alright, so what we found is problems. That's actually a pretty easy job. It took me longer to set it up on this stand to get the wheels off than it did to actually pull the center out. Also, don't sook about that. It's fine. It's not coming off that. So if you can see that, we'll have a look down here. We've got a twisted axle. So that's a right-hand one. Usually actually the left one's twist. I've never really twisted a right one from memory. I've got an abundance of right ones on the shelf, but I've got no left ones. The left one is pretty straight, but I'm still going to change it anyway. So yeah, I'll just put a fresh set of axles in it, fresh grease, and then I know it's happy days under here. But this is why I do it. I'm glad I spotted that, because Generally that's what happens. They twist the axle off and then it blows the center to bits and then blows the end of the locker to bits. And like it'll cost you a set of gears, a locker, just from not checking your axles. It's like a 30-minute job to check them. So that's something I do pretty religiously. And the other reason I pull the whole thing apart is just to check the rear center. So I'm just checking for any damage on the gears. The oil was a little bit dirty, had a bit of water in it, and as you can see, it's got a bit of surface rust on the locker. But the other thing I check is these bolts on the locker, because I actually got this locker for free and just needed a couple bits, so it cost me about $200, and that's been in here for about 4 years. So it's still going strong, but I have had it before where these bolts come loose once or twice, so that's something that I just check every time I check the axles. But yeah, I'll be checking backlash and run out and for any damages and things like that, just to make sure that is sweet. And then, yeah, be fresh axles and the rear end will be ready to party. So yeah, as it sits now, that's going to sit for a day or two. I've got somewhere to be, and yeah, I need to get some axles and that. So I'll wrap this video up here. On the next one, hopefully I've got some bits and we'll put it back together. If not, I'll do a transfer case change and a few other bits. I've still got a lot to do, so plenty on the cards. So I hope you're all as keen for Wilddog as I am. I'm absolutely pumped, and I cannot wait. So I'm looking forward to getting all this done and sending it up there. But until then, we'll see you on the next one.